Morning, everybody. This is for 76 Cheyenne, but if you have a Dwight D and it's having trouble, maybe this will help you out too. He had the service manual for the radio, so I'm able to review it and give some, advice, I guess, as to where we can look for trouble. It's just admiring this old manual. I hadn't seen one of these in a very long time. And, something that sort of dates these manuals is like the parts list, where these old manuals from the mid-late 70s, a lot of them had your part number of your component, the generic part number, the manufacturer's part number. Then you had the replacements for the part, like the GE part number, the IR Workman part number, the Mallory part number, Motorola, Raytheon, RCA, Sprague. I mean, it was it's something else. ECG, back when it was Sylvania. I mean, this is it's sort of a nostalgia thing. It's just they just don't do things like this anymore. Nowadays it's throw it away and buy a new one from China. So this is I'm pretty sure this radio is the little brother to the Madison. I'm pretty sure it looks like a Madison. So anyways, it closely as far as the vintage is about the same as the old Washington that I have kicking around here. But we have a internal view of the radio from the service manual, and of course these pictures are not the greatest, so just have to sort of bear with me on that one. But there's this obviously the board in the radio. What I'm interested in from his videos is the back of this radio right here. There's something right here on this heatsink that I saw, that I think I saw. I don't know. I think that I need to see that in detail. So if you could take some pictures of that, that would be, get your phone or your camera or whatever, and take some good pictures of this area right here, because something over here seemed like it was a miss to me in the videos. But videos are moving around and stuff like that, and they're not it's not pointing it right at that, so I'm just sort of catching the blur of it. But I spotted something over here that didn't look right. Just to describe what I saw briefly, let's say that this is our heatsink. So if this is our heatsink, which is this guy standing up right here, you can't really see it because it's vertical, and there's two transistors mounted to it. But if this was our heatsink, and this was one of our transistors, in fact this is probably a very similar, if not close to what's in the radio now. Let's say that that's it. Well, between the transistor and the heatsink, there's a mica pad, and that mica pad is typically coated with a grease, if you will. It's a thermal compound. It's not just plain grease or anything like that. It's a special compound. And I'm looking to see if I happen to have any micas handy. I know I've got tons of them, so here we go. Plastic bag with micas and other things in it. So sometimes there'll be a little bushing like what's here, but a lot of times there'll be like this mica insulator that's for sure in between that transistor. It looks something similar to this, which isn't really going to show up on the camera, so I hold the angle just right because they're sort of transparent. But this would be on the heatsink, and the transistor would be on it like that. It would be a different size mica, or a sill pad, which is just sort of like a rubbery thing. But back in the 70s, I'm pretty sure they didn't have sill pads. But there would be, you would have the transistor, you'd have the thermal paste on the mica, and then you'd have thermal paste on the other side of the mica, and then on the heatsink. So what I saw in his video was not something that would resemble that, but he had a bodge capacitor that looked factory. It's probably, more than likely, it's supposed to be there. But on that bodge capacitor was a ring lug like this, but smaller, and not this is just stuff that I have around, not exactly like this. And it was between the transistor, the mica, and the heatsink like that, which I'm almost certain is wrong, and that's for two reasons. The transistor that he depicted was of this case style. I think this is like a TO 102, something like that. It's a TO package. I just don't remember the exact package style, but this pad on the back is the collector. So if we measure this, okay, you're going to see that that's going to measure right through to that pin, and that's bad news. So you've got a capacitor on a lug that's stuck to the back of that, in between the mica and the heatsink. That, at least this is what I think I saw, like that. And this is a driver stage in the RF amplifier. So all of your RF, which may only be slightly less than a watt, maybe more, but typically less than a watt at this point, is going to get driven, and it's going to get sunk right off of the capacitor there, right? Because that capacitor, which I'm pretty sure you can see it in the picture, because if I don't know how well this is going to show up on the camera, so it's sort of a we're just going to wing it. But this transformer right here, this little silver thing that the tip of the screwdriver is pointing at, which I don't know if it's going to come through or not, so hopefully it does. If you look on the corner of it, you can see that blob of solder. Well, that's the other side of where that bodge capacitor is. And I'm looking at this picture, and I can't really tell from this because of the angle and because of the quality of the photo, how they have that lug. I don't believe for a minute that they intended to do that. To have that lug on the back of the case, of the transistor case, like that. If they wanted to bodge onto the collector of this transistor, they probably would have done it on the bottom of the board, which there probably is a picture in here. Actually, there is several pictures in here, so see if I can't find the best one. I also have some pictures of the top, but they don't really show what's going on, unfortunately, there either. But and none of these pictures of the bottom look very good either. So that's going to be around here, and there would be a bodge capacitor over there, which this picture I can't read half of it. It's just an old manual. See if one of these other ones, there's the top again. I can't really tell. I can see the solder here clearly, and I can see what looks like the lug. But of course, when they took these photos, these transistors were just flopping in the air, because what they did is they took the circuit board out of the radio and they took pictures of it. So it's just sort of flopping in the air at that point. So I can't really tell what they were doing with that. Of course, we got more pictures. This one looks a little bit better. It's a little darker over here. But they would, if they were going to bodge it on, they would do it here. I don't believe that their intention was to do that. So, although it almost looks like in this picture like it is behind it. So I don't know why. I'd just like to see some pictures of that, because I can't believe that, in fact, nope. In fact, I just found it. I just found it. I can see it clearly in this picture that the lug is supposed to be on the front. They've got it on the front here. So when they pulled it off, the thing is still stuck because there's the tab of the transistor. So I think that that's wrong. It looks like it's on the front there, but it could have been moved when they took the picture. It's probably best if you just took some pictures of that section of the radio back there. Have a look at that, because I think that's going to sync all your RF to ground. And when you start, throwing RF around in these radios, you start having problems. See, in the radio, this frame, the chassis of the radio, is typically floating. It's not at a ground potential or an earth potential. This isn't, this power supply in this radio doesn't have an earth prong on the mains cord or anything like that. So this is typically floating. And the reason for that is it's just basically how they designed a lot of these radios. If you look in the cabinet, I'm pretty sure that this it's not gonna show up on this. You can't tell. One of the things that always struck me as very bizarre, and I've seen them do it on several of these older radios, is that this thing, you could buy a really big bracket and you could put this in a car. This big beast of a radio, you could actually put it in a car. It was kind of weird, and it was unorthodox, but you could do it. And so the cabinet, because you had a lot of 12 volt or 24 volt positive grounded trucks in the 70s, you couldn't have this frame of this radio at grounded or at negative V minus, because you would just short the truck out. You'd have a power cord that was with a plug like this. As soon as you plug the thing in, you'd blast the fuse and or blast the radio. So, or damage to some electrical in the truck. You just so it was a floating system. So that's why a lot of the components, of course, are also isolated. But the board's isolated. If you took your multimeter leads and you touched there and then you touched the negative on the power supply, you shouldn't have continuity. It's supposed to be floating. So, and see if I can't find a bottom of the radio where they show just they don't have a bottom shot like this where they had the radio on its upside down so that you could see the entire bottom. They just don't have one like that. So, oh well. So anyways, I'm pretty sure that connector is wrong. So check that out, see what you find. Next thing, one of the most helpful things that you're probably going to find in this manual is a block diagram. Excellent stuff. You're having squeal on receive or I guess I'm not too clear as to what exactly the issue is, so maybe another video in order to show the exact issues. But if your PA worked, which I'm pretty sure that you said the PA worked, and I think you even showed that the PA was working, that pretty much eliminates most everything along this path right here. We know the audio amplifier works. We obviously know that the speaker that you use works. We know that these various amplifier stages are all working because you couldn't use the microphone and pass audio all the way through to the speaker if something was amiss in here. Now, that doesn't mean that these circuits are not affected by what's coming up off of these areas, like this detector up here. That doesn't mean that we don't have a problem here, because when you flip these radios in from CB to PA, they shut down a lot of this stuff up here, and then it's just pretty much this path is switched in. So and that's back here will be one of the what's switched on that CVPA, because also in a receive and transmit, because what you have going on over here is, you see, this is the modulation path for the transmitter as well. So obviously you don't want to hear what you're saying, or because you'd have feedback and issues. So the speaker's cut off and so on and so forth, and then that is impregnated DC is sent into the output stage. That's how an AM transmitter works anyways. So we know this path works. The output IC, which is one that looks like one of these. I think it's this one actually, but it's a similar amplifier. One of these is, we know that's fine, because if that was bad, you wouldn't have clear audio when you use a PA. It's not on the cards. So we know that the output works. And here's the output schematic. One of the things that is also very helpful in this manual is the fact that they have written down all the voltages on all the pins. So another thing you can do is, just for posterity, is go and make sure that these voltages are within you know, a volt or two roughly. These things, it may not be precise, but and that's not to say we don't have bad caps around here, because we more than likely do, but it's currently working. So you know, that's the thing. You have to look at it and say, well, if I have audio on PA and this amplifier does the PA and it does the transmit, there's nothing, this isn't our issue. So you know, let's just measure them just for the hell of it and see what you got. But you know, if we're going to have problem or receive, we're more than likely looking at something further up the line. And there's a couple of other things that we can probably start checking, but let's of course look at the obvious. So if you could take some pictures of the top of the board, kind of like what they did here with these pictures. You know, let's get some real good high resolution color ones if we could, and take a look at it and see what we can find. You know, we got to look for the obvious things first, because you know, 30-plus-year-old radios that have had who knows how many fingers in them. You never know what somebody's done to it, and you know, if there's any kind of weird hokey modifications done to it. So anyway, I hope that's been helpful. Let me know what you find out. You know, post some pictures up somewhere. Maybe make another video, you know, detailing exactly each function as to what works and what doesn't work. You know, does it transmit? Does it transmit audio? Is it clean? So on and so forth. So anyway, that'll be all for now. Catch you guys later.